Hello, mathematicians, puzzlers, and other curious people. We are here today at Math with Avrila as we go into this Labor Day weekend to take a little note of what it is that Labor Day is commemorating. So Labor Day is about the workers' rights movement, and one of the major victories of the workers' rights movement was getting what we call the 40-hour work week into place. So that's basically 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and even though now that can feel like a lot, or there can be problems with people being able to find a full-time job that'll be able to support them, for all those things that are valid and still need work, it was a big improvement over the previous situation, and what we're going to do mathematically in this video is take a look at using percentages to express that improvement. So, before we jump into the percentages, let's do a little multiplication. So the current situation is 5 days at 8 hours per day, therefore 40 hours per week. And again, when you say it fast, it can seem like a lot. Definitely, that's valid. Now, the situation before that, well, many people worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so that was, if we happen to know that one or grab a calculator, that would be 72 hours per week. So in the same amount of time to fit all that work in. So how big a change is this really? Well, to find the change, we would use subtraction. So we say, okay, the start minus the end will tell us the change. Okay, so the previous situation, well, that's where it started, would be the 72-hour work week. when we changed it to the 40-hour work week, well then that changed the amount of hours per week that a person needed to work by 32 hours. How big a change is this really? Now this is where percentages come in and can be useful. So when you're calculating a percent change, so it's not going to be 32%. What we have here is the absolute change. When you're expressing change as a percent, you take the absolute change and divide that by what it had started as. So plugging these facts into that formula, that'll be 32 divided by 72. And that looks like a good calculator problem. So let's see, 32 divided by 72. And I know we could simplify this first, but since we're just going to stick it in a calculator anyway, why bother? So I get on my calculator 0.4444, etc. I suspect that's so I'm going to use the approximation symbol because this is a suspicion, but I'm just going to say it seems to be, good old repeating 4. And then to turn that into a percent, all we need to do is move our decimal point by 2 places. So what I see is that people were able to make a living with 44% less work after this change due to labor rights activism in how a work week worked. So 44% less work, and yet somehow everything that was needed still got done. That's amazing, I think. It illustrates, I would say, how people can be more efficient in work practices and through new technology and things like that when they realize that they should. But here's another thing. What did that 44% reduction in work hours really mean for people? So you can think about it another way in terms of how much free time they had. So a total week for both was always, and again, this is a good calculator problem, 24 hours, 7 days, so 168 hours. But there's certain amounts of time that a person can't, really use however they want to. So work is obviously one big part of that, but a person is still, just in the course of things, going to spend a certain amount of time asleep is a big part of it, and you've got to have your meals and get dressed in the morning, all those sorts of things. So between sleep and just miscellaneous stuff, that's probably about 70 hours. So if we subtract that, 168 minus 70, that's kind of 98 usable hours. Okay, so out of those 98 usable hours, our current situation is that of those 98 usable hours, 40 of them on average get used up by work, leaving 58 hours. Before, if you took your 98 usable hours and worked for 72 of them, that would be, 26. Well, we can apply this same formula to see how much time people would have after work, or what percentage difference this made in how much time people have after work or before work, either way, to take care of whatever else they might need to take care of. Looking after their family, meeting up with extended family for events, other things, volunteering in their community, anything like that. Anything the person wanted to do other than work. They used to have 26 hours a week to do that in. And with a 40-hour work week, they instead have 58 hours to do that in. So let's do that calculation now. And again, I see because they're both even, we could simplify that. But we're not going to bother since we're just putting it into a calculator anyway. So what I'm seeing is my calculator tells me that this is 2.230769. I'll just give you all the digits. 231. Okay, so some of those digits aren't very important. Besides, we're estimating anyway, so we would need to cut it off in there somewhere to be reasonable and avoid fake precision. But what I'm seeing is that people had about 223%, again moving the decimal point by 2 digits, 223% as much free time as they had had before. So I think that's a big deal. Definitely a big deal that people would be able to spend 223% of their previous amount of time in whatever way they chose would make the most sense to them. So this is definitely a good reason to keep in mind that this is a major change that happened, a major event that took place. And so, as you're having possibly your last barbecue of the season, or whatever way it is that you commemorate Labor Day, keep in mind that this, or this, whichever way you choose to look at it, is what we're really celebrating. I'm Avrila at Math with Avrila, and I will calc you later.